Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Journalist Hangout. I am Esther Mokwariola. Today on the program, security agencies begin massive deployment of soldiers, policemen against protests as youths remain adamant. President Tinubu signs 70,000 naira minimum wage bill into law. And later on the show, refiners get crude for naira deal amid fuel scarcity as marketers project price slash. I will be hanging out with Mojid Jamyu and Asikwa James. Journalist Hangout starts now. Now, as the momentum gathers for the planned protest on August the 1st, a sense of unease pervades the country. While organizers of the protests have refused to back down from their demands for improved economic conditions and policy reversals, security agencies have begun massive deployment of soldiers and policemen across the country in response to the growing agitations. Let me come to you on this, Mr. Mujid. You know, before the planned date of August the 1st, we've heard reports of protests, even Niger State. And this is despite the appeals to residents that, you know, they shouldn't go on the streets. But what do you make of this as the countdown has begun already?
I think generally people are on the edge, hunger, anger. So any small thing, they let loose. Look at yesterday when the telecoms companies decided to remove those who had some issues with their NIN or those who didn't register. Look at what happened. In Festac, at one of the telecoms offices, of course, MTN, in fact, in most of the telecom offices nationwide, you see the mammoth crowd there. Before we knew what was happening, they pulled down, I mean, the video went viral, they pulled down the gate and the fence of the business premises of one of the telecom operators. And today, they have decided to shut down all over the country. Basically, we have restive youths, and most of the people who went there, you can see the energy with which they pull down that. And so people are
on the edge.
On the edge. They are. So any small thing will just, and I love the way the NCC responded by saying that the telcos should suspend demobilization of those who are yet to register or to link their SIM. So the same thing with the protests, which they have tagged and bad governance. But see, I love the way the police authorities are handling this matter. The chief the chief communications officer of the police was on major TV stations since weekend, saying that, yes, the police is not saying people must not protest, but that if you are protesting, you should not disturb others, you should not disturb government property, that even the police will provide security for those who are protesting. Look at what happened the last time, I think it was May Day, or the last protest in Lagos recently. The police were even giving the Lagos State Police Commissioner, I think I love that gentleman.
They're giving biscuits and water.
Biscuits and water to the protesters. So, I mean, they become one. They were even, in fact, they were even saying anybody should not be rude. The protesters were saying people should not be rude to the police. That is the way and manner protests should be. Now, those who are circulating the viral videos of the president when he was leading protests during the subsidy protest. So what was the nature of that protest then? I mean, we had people singing, cooking, and providing entertainment. Peaceful protest, but the message was sent across then to the Jonathan government. So, and I want to believe that this is how protests should be, not the type of NSAS where we've had several. I listened to the Deputy Governor of Lagos State, his interview yesterday, and he spoke about the massive destruction that happened. That's Dr. Obafemi Hamzat. I mean, he had an interview yesterday. I mean, on one of the channels. He spoke about the massive destruction that happened during the NSAS protest. To the government infrastructure, security infrastructure, and personal businesses, because some hoodlums hijacked protests. You see, you only know the beginning of protests. You don't know where it will end. So that's why I love the way even religious leaders now, Pastor Tunde Bakare, Pastor Chris Oyakilome, and the Chief Imam of Lagos, Imam Abunola, in their sermons, they have been doing video messages talking to Christians and Muslims that, yes, we are not saying you should not protest, but protest with a sense of responsibility. Do not destroy government property. Do not go and destroy other people's property. You want to protest, yes, protest. I mean, it is because it is your inalienable right to show anger, to show your grievances, but it should not disturb the peace of others. It should not disturb the businesses of others. We are that ones that, of course, yesterday in Lagos, we saw some people who had a protest against the planned protest. So now, and we have been seeing some Yoruba Oro people saying that they will commence Oro festival from August 1 to cleanse cities. I mean, one happened in Imota, Ikorodu on Saturday, as like we were quote unquote the eve of their own main Oro. They did it. So if there's anything like that. So I think we should be careful. We are not saying people should not protest. In fact, I'm also protesting, but in my own way. That's why by talking to Nigerians now, I'm also protesting that, yes, petroleum prices are high, banded tariff is high. So when we can protest, we can send subtle messages. We have been on this program talking to the president about why Dangote should be given crude oil, and we have seen the result, and I think we will discuss that later on the show.
Yeah, so, you know, in addition to what you're saying, subtle messages, some have even canvassed for dialogue. Asukwa, in this regard, talking about solutions. If you are talking about, okay, you have agitations, you have grievances, you want the government to do something about it. And there are so many groups saying that let's look at dialogue as an option, as against protest. Would you agree to this?
No, of course, because the thing is, for anything, it is better to judge than war, okay? If you sit down on the round table, what are your issues? What are your demands? And I think the president has been able to come out, you know, to appeal to the youths, you know.
But we've not seen him physically. That's the question makers say. You want to see him physically as against his program.
Perhaps he might want to do it, you don't know, but that is why he has his lieutenant, and they are going out to appeal to people, and the governors are also talking to people. You know, because I know everybody wants to look at the governor, the president all the time. But if your governor, who is also closer to you, your local government chairmen are also talking and appealing, your religious leaders are doing the same thing, even your parents are also telling you, okay, we know things are difficult, but let's give this man a chance or something, you know, is part of dialogue. And the president is not closing the door for dialogue, right. You know. He's not closing the door. He's listening to what they are saying. He understands, okay, that everybody... I'm not sure there's any time that the president has not said that he understands the pains that Nigerians are going through. He understands that the economic hardship is everywhere. And is also bringing policies and trying to ameliorate the sufferings of people. So, and just like some people will say, sending rice, to go and reduce the hunger in the land. It might not be the appropriate measure, but at least it's something for some people, okay? And yesterday I heard that they want to reduce the price of rice. Those are some of the things that he's also doing. It might just be, okay, well, let's do this immediately. But later on, maybe he will bring another policy. The major policies and the people who want to go on protest, what I feel they should start doing now, you should start reeling out their major demands. Because there are some demands that I have seen, okay, in terms of releasing some people in prison, and if you make your demands so vague that the government cannot immediately address, it becomes that is when the government will begin to look at it as being political.
So are you saying that most of your demands are vague because they have a list?
For instance, if they have a list, like, okay, they said, okay, move the price of fuel from whatever it is now to maybe 300 naira. Then Band A, just like Moji just said now, because he is on Band A, reduce the electricity tariff, a bit. You can now look at it. The government can now look at the regulators, look at those who are involved in these particular sectors. Okay, guys, is there any way we can shift ground, so that people will be able to at least buy fuel for themselves. People will be able to use electricity, not to use generator this time around, for their businesses. And then for transportation, what else can we do? And then food. I know the government is trying as much as possible to see how they can reduce insecurity at farms, because that is one of the major issues. If a farmer cannot go to a farm, it becomes a problem. Okay? Because if you go to a farm and maybe you are killed or hacked down, it's a problem. So the government will also look at it and maybe sit with the NSA and other security agencies and see how they can protect the farmers. In transportation, what can we do? Are they talking about fuel? Can they push out more CNG buses? Because I know in Abuja, they have started pushing out CNG buses and giving the NURT guys free of charge, to convert free of charge. Can we do that in other cities? If all these are the things that those who are protesting can sit with the government, and government gives them a timeline and say, okay, between now and maybe August or October, we want to do this and wrap up so that the issues about hunger and hardship will reduce. I think that is part of what those who want to protest should be looking at. We are not saying they should not protest.
Right.
Okay. Good enough that even the police have said they will give them cover. But also the protesters must also know the people who are around them. Because I'm very sure there are some people who will want to take laws into their hands and begin to, destroy public facilities. The scars of Lagos, because I know most states, I know of Lagos, I know of Cross River, what happened to Tinapa, how they looted everything in Tinapa. AC, WC, somebody was carrying WC, one will carry the cover, another person will carry the... it was just a pathetic scene to watch. Even in Lagos here, one of the best DNA facilities that we had. Yeah. Now we want to do DNA, we have to go to America. But they built it here in Lagos and they burnt it down. So that's what I'm saying. If you're talking about, if your demand is just to end hunger, let it be things that are around hunger. Do not shift ground to say, okay, you are going to move to another, because that is what happened during NSAS. They wanted, okay, they should stop police brutality. And all of a sudden, they decided to say, okay, we want to remove Buhari. No! It shouldn't have gone to that level. Right. If you wanted them to end the SARS people or to remove them from, we would have stuck with that. And then after 5 days, when the government started the discussion, they would have just gone back home. So we want this to be that organized. You are going to protest. If the police is saying, please, you are going to stay in Ikeja under bridge, please, let them stay in Ikeja under bridge. Let them not do gra-gra, let me use that word, and say, no, we want to now move to another place. Because in moving, you might not know what will happen. People can infiltrate you, okay? So let them be more organized. this government has said, we are not stopping you from protesting. It is in the Constitution. Everybody has that constitutional right to protest. But please, let it not be violent.
Yeah, you know, you raised something that I would have caught you in, but I wanted to just let you land because, you know, you talked about the government being sincere in addressing the grievances of the people. But some have said that the cost of governance is still relatively high. So don't you think the government needs to look at that aspect as well, even if at all it is working towards its palliative measures and providing, well, you know, of the approval of the minimum wage and every other thing that goes with it? Don't you think the government needs to look into that aspect as well so that Nigerians can see that this government is serious to, you know, addressing the issues that are really before us at the moment?
In terms of the cost of governance, I feel the government is also looking into it, okay? I know when the president was saying, okay, he will not take long convoys anymore. And he did the same thing for him and himself and the vice president. If that is what is our demand, because I'm looking at the demand of these protesters, if it is part of their demand, okay, for reduction of cost of governance, the president, they need to sit down with the president and tell the president where the president can reduce, and the president will, okay, look at it. Because this is a listening president. It's not the president that they will give him paper and explain newspaper to him. No. It's the president that listens, is hearing, he knows what is happening, is watching. And then, so when you come with your own position, he will listen. That's why he has advisors, he has ministers. They will also tell him, sir, this can happen, this cannot happen. He will call for a meeting. Maybe by the time we get to the other one, I wanted to say labor. Yeah. Okay? Because when labor was becoming very difficult and everybody thought, he was not going to listen, he listened to them. So he's listening. So if we want them to cut down the cost of governance, I'm very sure he would also be looking at it, okay, where can I reduce? Should I reduce the number of ministers? Should I reduce the number of essays that I have? How many vehicles am I using? Should I reduce it to only 2 or 1, you know, to reduce, for cost of fuel? You know, same will also apply to all of them. When I mean all, I mean the Senate, the president of the Senate, his deputy speaker, governors, and as well as even down to the local government. You know, so all these things are part of, if they are part of the demands that the protesters want, they shouldn't shy away, but they have to only do that at a round table.
Round table discussion from the position of Asukwo. Mr. Majid, you know, this might be like, this should be the only solution that we have, but some would say protests are not, it's not something that can be done. We can do protests, we can have it peaceful. We've had protests before. The reason why NSAS went down south was because the security operatives launched fire on some protesting youths at Lekki Tollgate. So, you know, if we can ward off such reoccurrence, as it were, already the Inspector General has sent messages to his personnel to be of good behavior while the streets when conducting or, you know, ensuring that there's peaceful protest and all of that. But what other factors need to be considered to ensure that we have a peaceful protest that doesn't generate into violence?
Yeah, you know, peaceful, I mean, no matter how peaceful a protest is, you must have a leader, a point man that will direct affairs. During NSAS, there was nothing like that. They say they don't have a leader. They were not listening to anybody. They will form like they have a cabinet there where they take decisions. And so one mad person can just come and change whatever and they all follow him. You see, we must all realize that while you are protesting, you cannot force others to join your protest. You cannot use your protest to disturb or hinder the movement or business activity of other people. Some people, their life, like the health sector, aviation, and so many other sectors, these are a 24/7 sector. And also the police and other security agencies, they have a duty to ensure free flow of traffic and that people are able to move freely. Like what happened at the toll gates, they blocked the toll gate, those who want to come from Lekki down to the island and mainland.
People going to Lekki too.
And those who are going to, They didn't allow them to move. Some people were carrying their sick ones, some pregnant women to the hospital. They didn't allow them access. And so hell was let loose. So I think basically we should, like I said earlier, we should protest with all sense of responsibility. Now, look at one guy on TikTok in Jos. He went on TikTok saying what will happen, calling people to action, saying what will happen on day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4, saying they will bomb police stations, they will bomb markets, they will destroy private properties, stores, supermarkets where they are selling food, bread, bakery, all those things. It was really not those things. Now he was arrested. Only him now is gentle. He said he was joking. And that they now told him later. There are videos of where he was reeling out those actions as if he was drunk. Now, when he was arrested and cuffed,
he became humble.
He became humble. So, those, protests take another life entirely, especially when you see the crowd, they become uncontrollable, and at times, hell might be let loose. Like Azuko said, protesters, some of them, reasonable, they might have good intentions, but there are some hoodlums that their own is, maybe somebody might have, they have issues with somebody somewhere, they want to...
That is their target. That will be their
target to retaliate. So they will just go there. What has NSAS got to do with looting of ShopRites? What has NSAS got to do with burning of BRT buses? Is it government officials or commissioners in Lagos that has their own official vehicles that will enter BRT? Is it not those of us who are common men that will enter all these buses? That forensic center that was burned down, that's why Mohbad's post-mortem could not be done on time. That forensic center is the best in sub-Saharan Africa. In Lagos, it was burned down. And it will take 3 times the cost of erecting that structure to do that today. Those BRT buses, about 200 of them, it will take 3 times the cost of acquiring them 4 years ago to do that today. So, at the end of the day, it is at the taxes we are paying that government will also use to fix those infrastructure that has been destroyed. Monies or funds that should have been channeled towards other projects will not, 3 times that amount will be channeled to rebuilding the infrastructure that we have destroyed during protests. I'm not saying people should not protest, but let government know our grievances, but in a very peaceful manner. Now, Kenya, it's like becoming a rudderless country now. They don't even know where to start. Some of them are even regretting because they have destroyed beyond what could be comprehended. And the person they want to remove is still there. So we must have some measures of sensibility into all these protests we are doing. Nobody is against protests, but there has to be some sense in it, some rationale behind some of the protests. What there was protests during anti-subsidy, during anti-subsidy stuff then. Yeah. Yes.
But no destruction.
The likes of Buhari, Pastor Tunde Bakari, President Tinubu, they were at Odota, peaceful for about 3 days. No property was destroyed, but they still achieved the objective, the purpose for which the protest was moved.
Right. So in essence, protest is allowed.
Yes.
Peaceful.
Peaceful.
I think the message has been passed, and the government understands that they can't take people for granted. So if people want to protest, they have the right to do that.
Right.
Let them get that protection.
Right. Let's quickly go on a very quick break. We have more discussions in just a moment.